I'm Maisam. I'm here with my partner Rita Rawajde. We're here to present to you a project that is very dear to our hearts. It's a merger between two schools in Amman, Jordan, the school, Ahliya School for Girls, and the Bishop School for Boys. The main driver behind the design has been to create a school that is ahead of its time, and it aspires to look into a school of the future that will be the first of its kind in Jordan and probably in the region. So, and we would like to see how that will take us into future schools. That we would like to see how that would look like. The two schools hold a significant presence and historic value in the city, as they represent beacons of holistic education and symbols of empowerment. The two schools currently sit in one of Amman's oldest neighborhoods called Jabal Amman, the Mount of Amman. The area represents a lot of culture, history, and authenticity with a traditional dense urban fabric, while the new site sits 15 to 20 minutes away within a rural part of the southwest of the city. We were very lucky to have been approached by a forward-thinking client that is enlightened, bold, and considered a reference in the field of education, believing in instilling the power of imagination, creativity, and collaboration, and considers the school's built environment to be the third teacher, one that allows students to interact, investigate, develop, exchange, and create. So why are we moving? We are moving to unite the boys and the girls' schools away from heavy traffic in the old city and to provide a lot of open space. One of the main challenges was the emotional attachment of the school's community to the current campuses. So we gave them a promise to maintain the school's identity and values, design a school of the future, create a school in a park, a school the students will call home. So, yeah, taking with us the basic physical elements that are engraved in the memory of the place: a stone wall, a tree, a staircase, and a courtyard. The topography of the new site is rather intriguing, as it offers two distinct areas. One is almost flat, while the other is extremely steep with a backdrop of forest pine trees. So the required space program proved to be quite disproportionate to the site area, especially if we were to provide ample open space. We started with spreading the program across the site, introducing pillars that behold the values of the school, elevating the program to draw in the surrounding greenery. We then broke down the mass into modular courtyard masses that become pods of knowledge that houses learning spaces, classrooms, etc. Introducing jewel-like transparent spaces in the park that showcases the freedom of expression and innovation. The pillars of values became the cores that hold and connect the school throughout, to create a school in a park. So the elements again, we have the park that weaves together an intricate landscape of creative interactive functions. The pillars symbolizing the solidity and values that the school represents. The elevated pods of knowledge. And the anchors rooted within the mountain, housing the school administration and all community-related functions. We believe that we were able to create an environment that engages the students, stimulates their imagination, and nurtures their passion.
The program splits into two categories. The first are the learning functions, mainly the classrooms of the different departments within the elevated pods. The second are the interactive functions placed within the park, creating an environment that lights the spark of curiosity. These functions are the library, the theater, the design labs, music rooms, art studios, and playing fields. Like all parks, it connects you with nature, it connects you with others, and give you the space to connect with yourself. As you go through the park level, you will witness art being created, products being designed, theater being performed, even students grabbing books from the library. It was very essential that the module we adopt for the learning spaces is flexible and adaptable to allow for the future modes of education to happen towards a no-wall school when the role of the teacher is to stimulate, provoke, and engage. Jordan enjoys a moderate four-season climate, so we were able to deploy simple yet effective sustainability strategies that will provide a healthy and comfortable environment. The building orientation, courtyards, natural daylight, the incorporation of wind catchers, shading, using native greenery, or reduce the building use of natural resources. I will leave you now with an animation that captured the spirit of the school.
perfectly on time. Anyone want to kick off? Yeah.
Well, I'm struck by the beauty of the site and the contemporary nature of the architecture, things of Corbusian slabs and all the rest of it. And can you talk us through a little bit about the aesthetic of the building and how you've taken a contemporary approach to architecture but related it to that particular culture and place? What informed your work there?
Maybe I'll take you through a vision of what Amman is like. Amman is, we call it the city of hills. They call it specifically the city of 7 hills, although there are 100 hills. And we as Ammanis, we were used to in the past a city of hills.
Hills.
It's hills, so it's very, you will not find cities like that. And one of the most interesting things is the stair that takes you from one neighborhood to the other, and how it filters, as you're going up the stair, it filters into the different homes, different functions. So that is one thing that is important to mention. We call it the city of views and the city of the 5th elevation. You always overlook the roof of the other, from one mount to the other. So this, we call it the city of views as well. And the open space has always been the playground in between buildings, the street, the neighborhood. With time, the car took over, and we started slowly losing that. So there's a huge attempt at bringing that memory back. So I mentioned in the presentation, so if we look at the school, if you noticed in the animation, there's this continuity from the flat land into the hill. There's no obstruction. And in the stair, maybe it doesn't show, but each flight of stair takes you into either the gym or the IB library, or so it's in that it reminds us of the city. One of the most beautiful exercises we have done with the school, because they are a school that is known and differentiated in instilling values of Jordanians, the family connection, the collaboration, the giving. And they constantly, and there is the only school that takes people from different parts of life. They could be lower, middle, or higher. So in that, unfortunately, my children went to schools that only a certain segment of society. Well, in this one, it's different. And so we sat in a long discussion of saying, if we are to take the values of your school, and that makes it unique to any other, and overlap it with where the future of education is going, what do we take with us on the intangible? While on the tangible, if you notice, we took a wall.
It's also very much about beauty, and the name of your practice is Maisam,
Yes.
and Maisam in Persian means beauty.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Maisam in Arabic means the seal of excellence. So, yeah,
No.
please, thank you.
I'm curious because you were talking about overlooking the roofs, but actually the roofs don't look like they're accessible here. Is that the case?
This project is going to be built, so we are in the design development phase. This will operate in September 2022. So one of the main elements of study as we speak is are they green roofs or are they solar panel roofs? So there's this discussion about where do we go. But if you ask me, the more roofs we access, the better it is for the design. But let's see where that takes us.
The district itself is a master plan district that you're one of the first people to build, is it? Because it seems to have a grid of streets and no other buildings around it.
Let me explain to you this. The master plan of Amman takes public transportation into consideration. We are at the moment suffering from the bus rapid transit. And the bus rapid transit will take us to this area. So in the master plan of Amman that was done 4 years ago, they have dedicated this part of the city, although it's farmland, unfortunately, but still, for the educational sector. So we have a school 10 minutes up from our land and 10 minutes before our land. And they want to facilitate all sorts of services to whether it's right or wrong, but here we are. But what's good about it, it gave us the opportunity to be in one with nature that we know is very important for future schools.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'd like to just ask something. You mentioned in the beginning of your talk that the built environment becomes the third teacher. Can you give us a bit more about that and show us the architecture that is that?
Yes, please. Can we go to the third teacher? Sorry. You know, the whole world is studying this thing about where is education going. And I think one of the leading people in this is Sir Ken Robinson. But he has a team now, and they're working on that, and they looked at all the pillars. They talk about the three teachers, one being the teacher himself that has to shift his role to become more of an enabler. The second is the student to the student. That's the second teacher, so giving them place to learn from each other. And the third teacher is what we do as architects. How do we create an environment that helps the children of today get off their phones and talk and communicate? So if you go back to the design, you realize that we chose no classrooms on the park level, only highlighting the uniqueness of each student. So we feel that this school will take us into what we call self-actualization or understanding your purpose in life. And if we can do that to the young generation, they understand what makes them unique and they can put it to the service of others, we would have done this generation a lot of good.
Oh, thank you. Very nice. I have maybe two questions. Maybe about your three teachers, maybe you can add a fourth teacher, is maybe nature. And I could imagine, because you said you're still a work in progress, that also your discussion with the roofs, you know, you can even combine green roof, but even with, it's also not bringing children back, connecting them again with their own senses, but also with nature, but even with food production and herbs. That's interesting.
Yes.
And I have the second question. So I can imagine to have a little bit more attention for that, if that's possible, because it's already a great project. And I was wondering, because you make all glass facades, how does that deal? You said it's about 4 seasons. I don't know, I've never been in Amman. Do you have to use screens for that, or is there natural ventilation, or how is it too much glass or not? I have no clue.
It's a good question. In Jordan, actually we say we package the weather.
You package it?
We package the weather. When we want to welcome you to our country, we say we package the weather, meaning we have 4 perfect seasons. We get snow, but we get snow for 3 days. We get rain for 4 months. Sun, it was never too hot. So it has a perfect climate. Mm-hmm. In this case, you have to remember, we worry about heating the classrooms, not like the rest of the region. So that's why you realize that we opened the courtyards and the masses to bring in the south sun, because the land goes in the opposite direction. So we have to create in the south sun to heat.
Yeah.
South is behind the forest.
Yeah, behind the forest.
So the idea is that is to make them feel nature, even if they are in the learning pods, to be one with nature even there. We don't worry about at all having too much glass, because it's like I said, it's very, very moderate weather, and people they sleep on roofs.
It's just a little bit. I was wondering if the sun comes in, if it's irritating or not.
A little bit of louvers will solve it, depending on which direction we're looking at.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the time is up. So congratulations again on being the winner of Future Projects Education. And we'll present you with your award.